Welcome to the Rise of the Trades podcast, the show dedicated to helping you to build, grow, and scale your trades or construction business. All rise for your host, Craig Wilkinson.
Welcome to this week's coaching episode of the Rise of the Trades podcast, where we help trades and construction business owners to skyrocket leads, explode net profits without having to graft 60 hours a week and becoming that busy fool. In this episode, I'm going to be teaching you how learning to say the most difficult word that trades business owners seem to can't say, and that is the word no, is going to save you up to 15 hours a week and stop putting yourself and your business under pressure by constantly saying yes to everybody and every situation. But before we go there, I'd just like to remind you that our Rise of the Trade Summit is now sold out. The tickets have all sold out yet again. I said they would, didn't I? They've sold out and there's no tickets available, which means the only way you're going to get access now to the live training on the day and all the coaching and social media and video marketing training we're doing is by joining our Growth Club, because the recording of those coaching sessions are going to be added into our Growth Club. If you're not already a member and you want to consider joining us, please click the link in and around the show notes and the description of this episode and come and join our Growth Club. Now, let's transition over to this week's coaching episode. Let's be honest with ourselves. In business, and in particular a trades business where you're having to spin loads of plates and deal with lots of different people and situations, jobs, etc., sometimes we're far too quick to come out of the blocks with the word yes. Yes to our customers, we're saying yes to our team, yes to our suppliers, yes to our family, and yes to us friends. When deep down, we know that we haven't really got enough time in that week or that month to squeeze anything else in. But what do? We say yes. And there's times over the years where we've been incredibly busy with our own work. You know, and a past customer that's been a really good customer has rung us up and said, Craig, you know, you've quoted this job. Sorry we didn't get back to you on time, but we've been busy. But we want the job doing. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. When can you do it? And I'm like, well, you're looking at his diary now and what we've got scheduled in. You're going to have to wait until this day. Oh, really? Oh, man. Come on, Craig, you know, all work we've given you, blah, 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 all referrals we've passed and our friends and family we've passed. Come on. Can you just squeeze us in? Can't you move things around? And then it puts you in a awkward position, doesn't it? So there'd be times where I'd go, do you know what? Go on then, yeah. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me see what I can move and I'll give you a call back today. But Mr. Jones, rest assured, I'll make sure we fit you in because you're a brilliant customer and we don't want to let you down. And then I put the phone down, put my hands in my head and go, what the fuck have I said that for? Why have I said that? I'm already chock-a-block with work. I'm already struggling with labour. You know, I've now put myself in a right position. Where am I going to find the time to do this? But it doesn't stop there, does it? Because then what do? We've then got to start moving our schedule and our diary round and no doubt ringing other customers up that have been booked in for God knows how long and pushing them back. So now I'm pissing them off. Do you get what I'm saying? So what we end up doing is we end up usually saying yes to things that we should be saying no to, but for some reason we can't seem to bring ourselves to say that word, the smallest word, the 2-letter word that will protect so much of your time, which is the word no. No, Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, we can't move things round. We do respect you and we do know that you're an amazing customer. But Mr. Jones, if I were to try and shoehorn you in to our diary, It means that we're not going to give you our full 100% divided attention and service that we've always provided for you in the past. And what I'm going to then have to do, Mr. Jones, is I'm then going to have to contact my customers that are already booked in and push them further back. Now, we've never done that with you in the past, and I'm sure if we did that with you, you wouldn't be happy. So I really do appreciate you giving us the business, and I understand that this is important for you, but we are so professional in the way in which we work, Mr. Jones, that unfortunately, this time, I can't just squeeze you in. However, what I can do is I can make sure that we get the jobs done quicker. We'll bring you in as quick as we can. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll even throw you this added bonus in worth X amount of pounds. How does that sound? And then Mr. Jones is going to turn around once you've explained to him why you can't just shoehorn him in. When you explain the reason why and you let people down that way, you don't have to say the word no. You're just explaining to them that you can't do it that way. Here's the reason why. But what we will do is we'll make sure that we give you A, B, C, D, X bonus. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, I never used to do that. I used to say yes to everything. And that's what led me to become that busy fool. Working 70, 80 hours a week, sacrificing that quality time that I should have been spending with my wife and my kids at evenings and weekends because I couldn't say the word no because I thought it were negative. And every time I nodded my head and said yes to somebody, something had to give further down the line. I had to make space for it. And a lot of that time, as much as I don't want to admit it, but it was the time that I should have been spending with my family. That loving quality time, i.e., I'd have to work evenings or stay till 7 o'clock on the job or work a Saturday or Sunday or worse, both a Saturday and a Sunday to squeeze jobs in. And before I know it, I'm 21 days without a break in my business and I'm still staying up till 12 o'clock at night doing all my paperwork and admin to keep the monster that I built on the track. So you with me? And all this, you were just constantly putting pressure on ourselves and our business when it's really not necessary. Do you know what I also found? That saying yes all the time to people please. I used to be a people pleaser. I wanted to please everyone. I didn't want to let anyone down. So I used to say yes. Now, the flip side of this is you think that you're doing people a favour. But in actual fact, they don't appreciate it, do they? They don't. In fact, it does the opposite. Customers push harder then. They see that you've got a weakness. They see that they can exploit it. Give them an inch and then they start to take a mile. Same with your team. Same with your friends. Same with your family. They don't appreciate it. But what's happened now is you're the only one that's suffering, and that can't happen in business. You know, the idea around you building, growing and scaling a business is to give you time and financial freedom, not to make you into a busy fool and a prisoner in your business, trapped in your business because you can't say the word no. Do you get where I'm going? So in this episode, I want you to start to think about your time, because time is far more valuable than money. Time is the most valuable currency we've got. We can always make more money, but we can't make more time. And for you to get financial and time freedom in your business, something has to change. And what needs to change is your relationship and your discipline around the word time. But to do that, we've got to learn to say that small word, the word no. We've got to start understanding that every day, the more you say no to people, situations, jobs, yourself, the more you are protecting the time that you've now racked up in your time bank. So grab your notepad and your pen or a tablet, make some notes, and let's get ready to get stuck in. For the people that know me or are coached by me, for example, our Growth Club or Inner Circle members, they all know how meticulous I am when it comes to time management, right? In the fact that we've only got 168 hours in a week to fit everything in. And years ago, I used to squander that time. I didn't respect time. I didn't even know there were 168 hours in a week. You might be listening to this now and maybe you didn't, but we've only got 168 hours in a week. You've got no more than me. I've got no more than you. We've all got the same amount of time. So what I want us to start to consider here is knowing that time is the most valuable currency we have. And if we don't protect our time and we start to give it away and we let other people start to rob our time, all that's happening is that 168 hours a week is diminishing, and therefore we get to the end of the week and we still got a to-do list as long as his arm from a business point of view. We didn't have time to go to gym. We didn't have time to go and play football on a Tuesday evening because time has overtaken us, and now we're scrambling to make the most of the little bit of time we've got left, or because we don't respect time, we're not disciplined with time, and we don't understand how time works. So what I want you to consider moving forward is this. Write down the word time bank. Time bank. And what I mean by a time bank is this. Just like the money that you earn and accumulate, you put your money into a bank. And there's a number of reasons why you put it into the bank. One, it's to protect it, right? Two, it's so that the money can compound. And as a business, we know that our bank balance should be going up. If it's going down or we're constantly in an overdraft, then clearly something's wrong in your business because your bank balance should be going up. And there's loads of reasons why we stick as money in the bank, but to protect our money, we're going to put it in a bank, put it in a vault, put it in a safe to protect it. And it's the exact same with time. So I want you to think of time like you put in 168 hours in a week into a time bank. And that time bank is where you are going to protect your time and where you are going to deposit and withdraw time each week from that bank. So every Monday morning, let's say, when you wake up and your eyes open at whatever time they open for you, your time bank is kicked in. And every minute throughout that day, every day, 7 days a week, you are now having to choose on where you are going to withdraw the time out of your time bank. But the idea is you need to get to the end of that week with still hours left in that time bank for you. Because if we get to the end of the week and we've run our business and we've done everything we need to do in our business, and therefore we've got time left over, that is your family time. That is your personal development time. That is your socialising time. That is the time where you spend and invest into your hobbies. Do you get me? So your business is not there to drain every flipping hour of your time out your time bank, is it? It's there to take an element out of it, but we still need enough left at the end of every week to fit in all the other things that we need to do in our lives. But sadly, for most business owners, we don't look at it this way. And we keep saying yes to just about everything. And then we get to the end of the week and we wonder why we haven't got enough time. Why we've still got this to-do list. Why didn't that job get done on time? Why didn't I have time to go to the gym? Why didn't I have time to go and see my daughter at gymnastics? It's because you don't respect time. You're running your time bank dry, and the only person that's to blame for this is you, because you keep saying yes to everything. If we started saying no, we're not doing that, then what happens? We protect the time in our time bank. Think about it. A customer drops you a message or rings you up and says, Craig, listen, I need to see you up on our job. There's something I want to run past you. And because it's a customer, you go, yeah, okay, yeah. As soon as you say yes, what have you now given permission for that customer to do? You've given permission for that customer to steal probably 2 hours of time out of your time bank that you haven't got. Or it could be one of your members of your team on a job and they're stuck and they ring you and go, listen, we've got a problem on this job. You need to come up to this job and help solve it. So what do you go? Yes. Now what you're doing, you're now giving your team permission to steal 2 hours of your day to go and solve that problem. It could be a sales rep that drops into your office or comes on one of your jobs or are constantly ringing you trying to flog you something. We used to have it all the time where reps would just rock up on a job with a mug or a flask to give away to one of our lads and have them stood talking for half an hour about crap, honestly, about nonsense. And it's like they come and knock on my door and come into my office and I'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? You ain't got an appointment. Oh, yeah, but no, yeah, but you're not stealing my time, but you'll say yes. And therefore, you've lost another half an hour of your time out your time bank. You're busy on tools and then your phone starts ringing. You look at it and it's one of your mates. So you answer the phone and they have 20 minutes on phone where you're organising meeting up in pub on Saturday before match. Now you've just given them half an hour, 20 minutes to steal time out of your time bank that you haven't got. And I used to do this all the time. Again, being a people pleaser. But the only person that suffered throughout all this were me, because now I've put myself under pressure. Now I've put my business under pressure. Now I'm going home in a bad mood and taking out my wife and kids. It's not their fault that I can't say no. Do you see what I'm saying? So the first thing that you've got to do from a time management point of view is understand that you've got 168 hours and it's your choice on where you withdraw that time from your bank and who or what you give it to. And I'm of the opinion now that if it's not urgent and it's not mega important and somebody else can solve the problem or somebody else could speak to the customer or I could tell my mates not to ring me during the day, I'll ring you at night when I'm back home and I'm chilling out, or I'll ring you on the way home from job when I'm stuck in traffic to leverage my time. All these things I started to introduce into my business. And I kid you not, and I guarantee that if you just start saying no to people, situations, tasks, and more importantly, you've got to start saying no to yourself. No, I'm not going to give up my time out of my time bank for this situation. I guarantee you'll save 15 hours a week, honestly. Because if you think about it, throughout the week, there will be far more than 15 situations that pop up. But you don't see these situations because you do this on autopilot. But there will be customers, there'll be a team, there'll be a family, there'll be a friends, there'll be tasks, there'll be jobs, there'll be things out there that want to rob and steal your time. And you're giving them permission to do it. So even if you would just say, for argument's sake, there's just a couple of them a day, which there will be, and each one of them has a knock-on effect that steals 1 hour of your time further down the line. Over the course of the week, that's 15 hours. That's almost 2 full days of time you will get back by understanding you've got a time bank, and to protect your time, you have to start to say the word no to as many people as you can. Now, in this chapter, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 situations or 10 examples where you're going to want to say yes. Let's highlight them up front, because you're doing a lot of this on autopilot. And what I want to do is I want to put this into your subconscious mind so you can make a conditional change and start protecting your time. And I know you're going to be doing this because these 10 situations are some of the primary culprits of where I used to waste my time. And having coached over 30,000 trades business owners, I know for a fact that the vast majority of them will be making these same mistakes as I did. So let's highlight them up front. I want you to make a note of all 10. And then anytime one of these 10 situations pops up, you've got to have the ability to say no. Okay? So situation number 1. And this is what I call like the last minute jobs from your customers. Write it down, last minute jobs from your customers. And I've sort of touched on this already in the introduction of this episode. We've all had that call, right? When a customer rings, any chance you can just pop round? I've got something I want to change quickly, or something I want to run past quickly, or I've got a quick job that needs doing. And it might be a previous customer, it might be domestic customer, it could be a commercial customer, and you don't want to let them down because they give you loads of work. And on surface, saying yes feels like good customer service. But here's the reality. That one quick job smashes your diary and smashes your schedule and smashes your time bank out of the window. You end up then having to move appointments, jobs, meetings around, unsettling other customers and putting yourself under pressure for no reason. So what I want you to start to say no to is anybody, any customers that ring you and expect you just to stop everything and jump through hoops to suit them. You've got 168 hours in your time bank, and if you're going to allow your customers to constantly come and just steal and rob your time, and when they say jump, you will never get your business to where it wants to be. One of the big fundamental things that I teach is you have to own all relationships. You have to own all relationships with time. You've got to own relationships with your money, and you've got to own your relationships with your customers. Because the minute they own your relationship, guess what happens? They now own your time. By saying no, you're not being awkward. You're protecting your schedule. You're protecting your promise to your other customers. And you're also protecting your reputation that you've took years to build. Situation and example number 2, write down discounting your prices. We've all had it where your customers say to you, "Oh, it's a little bit on high side this price, Craig. Any chance you can knock a bit off?" Or, "Craig, if you come down to the other prices that I've had, you've got the job." Or, "What can we do for cash? Can we lose the VAT?" And you, out of the fear of losing the job, end up doing what? Yes. You're saying yes. But here's the truth. Every pound you're knocking off that job, just because the customer's asked it and you want to people please and you want the work, you're knocking profit off. And worse, the customer knows that you're now prepared to bend your prices, and they'll try it again further down the line. Whether that's on extras on the job or whether it's a repeat customer, they're going to keep trying it on. And the times over years where I've submitted and I've gone, "Nah, go on then, just this once," and I've knocked the price down, and then I come off at phone and I'm angry with myself. I'm like, "What the fuck have you done that for, you idiot? You're already busy." Or it could be, "I need the work, that's why." But what's the point of working for nothing? We can all get a job working at McDonald's for a minimum wage. Knocking money off jobs and pulling figures out of fresh air and just agreeing to your customers that you're prepared to come down on price is not the smartest move, is it? Particularly for those of you that don't know how to price a job correctly and have no idea on the numbers that you need to pull together to price the job. You see, you could be chucking a figure in and you're already losing money. Now you've come down on price, you're doing that job for nothing. Or you could be breaking even and now you've put yourself in a position where you're making a loss. No, I'm sorry. The price is the price, Mr. Jones. If I could have come down on price, I'd have already put the price in at that lower price, but I can't. And really, if you are a good salesperson, which is what you should be, and I've done podcast episodes on this, you shouldn't be allowing people to take the piss out of you like that. If you're a good salesperson, you'd be dealing with the objection on why they want the price knocking down in the first place. Oh, Mr. Jones, I don't mind you for asking to knock the price down. But what's the main reason why you need me to bring the price down? Now, Mr. Jones is going to tell you one of the main objections, and it could be something as simple as, well, Craig, I've had three prices. The other two are £1,000 cheaper. You're more than them. So if you can come down to their price, we want you to do the job. And I'd then go back to him dealing with the objection. Well, Mr. Jones, on what basis are you saying that my quote is more than theirs? And then he'd go, well, they're £1,000 cheaper than you. And then that's where I'd go into, well, it's not going to be a like-for-like quote then, is it? And then I'd be dealing with that objection of price. I'd never, ever in a million years just turn around to say someone who asked me to knock something off my quote and go, yes. I mean, that's just financial suicide, that, isn't it? So we've got to start saying the word no in a certain way. And when we do this, when it's based on discounting your prices, it actually builds more respect. It shows the value of your work and your values and beliefs and standards. And then you'll start to attract better customers and clients because of it. Now, given that I've just mentioned, some people don't know how to price jobs correctly. If that's you, I want you to go and listen to episode number 63. Because in episode number 63, I go through the exact numbers and the exact calculations that you need to work out things such as your hourly rate, your overheads, how you price jobs, what margins you need to add on to your profit margins, and all that is in episode number 63. And again, because I've mentioned sales, if you feel as though you need to become a better salesperson, you don't know how to deal with things like objections, you don't know about things called positioning, temperature checking, how to ask a customer for the business without becoming across being sleazy and pushy, go and check out episode number 77, because in 77, I cover off the 7 top sales tips to win more jobs when you become a better salesperson and drop being a tradesman. Because ultimately, you are responsible for bringing jobs into your business. And if you don't learn some clever little sales technique to help you increase your conversion rate, then you're never going to grow your business and scale it to the levels you need to be at. Because for some of you, you don't need any more leads. You just need to convert more of the jobs that you get that you're already pricing. And that's down to you not understanding your sales process and how to become a salesperson. Situation and example number 3. Write down extra add-ons outside the quoted works. In other words, extras, right? And we've all been there. You've priced a job up, you've agreed the scope and you've agreed what's involved with it, you've agreed the cost, everybody's happy. Then whilst you're there, the customers come up with them words that make your blood boil and curdle. "Oh, Craig, while you're here, can you just bang?" Now, let me give you some real life examples on how this plays out. And when you say yes because you feel obliged, because you feel rude to say no, I mean, you're there, you've got your tools out, why not go ahead and just do whatever they're asking you to do for free? Let me give you some examples how this plays out. Now, as a joiner, we've had this happen to us hundreds of times, and we used to just literally do these extras. But as you know, sometimes these little extras lead on to complications, right? So you might be fitting a new kitchen. The quote was clear. You're going to supply and fit this kitchen, but midway through the kitchen, the customer says, "Oh, Craig, while you're here, I've got 2 doors that I've had in garage that need to go on bedrooms upstairs. Would you mind just fitting them while you're here? It won't take long." Now, if you don't respect time and you don't respect your own time bank, the likelihood is, to people please, you're going to say yes, right? But what you've just done is turn that profitable kitchen job into maybe a break even or a loss. Why? Because hanging them doors is half a day's work as a minimum. And you know what it's like if you're a joiner. You know, you can get the door upstairs and it needs loads taking off. The head wants absolutely, you need to get saw on head and cut it onto slope. Oh, they're awful. The hinges are knackered. They could have bought a thicker door that don't fit inside rebate at lining. So what you think might be a couple of hours work for apprentice whilst you're there ends up being a flipping full day's work. You now can't get to the next job, so you're having to put that customer back till the following morning and put other customers back, and you're not even getting paid for it. Now, the customer might just think it's a small job, but to you, it's your time. There's the materials that you might have to put into that job and the energy in doing it. What's not being factored in? You've got to start saying no. Let's look at an example for a Sparky. Right, you've gone to rewire a house. The customer asks, "Craig, while you're here, can you just put me an extra couple of additional double sockets in my garage?" Again, it seems small, but that's cable, fittings, maybe extra chasing out. An hour or two's gone. And once you've said yeah and you've started it, they come up to you and then they go, "Oh, while you're at it, I've got this outside light that I bought from B&Q. You couldn't just put me this outside light up while you're at it, could you?" So it becomes a slippery slope, and before you know it, another half a day of labour has gone that you've got to pay for, and now you're half a day behind on the next job. Or you might be a plumber and you've quoted for swapping out a boiler, combi to combi swap. You've quoted job, everything's going according to plan. Then customer pops round and says, "While you're here, can you just have a look at that leaky tap? Or my flush on toilet's not working." Now you're having to mess about draining down blinking systems, messing about, wasting an hour of your time. Again, that's another hour of time that you're not going to get back and you're not getting paid for. Now, you might be saying to me, "Craig, all this sounds a bit petty, doesn't it?" But think about this. When you start to scale your team and you start to scale your jobs and you fit in, let's say, you've got 3 people fitting boilers a day, or you've got a couple of teams doing rewires, or you've got a couple of fitting teams fitting kitchens every week, all these extras throughout the entire year add up to weeks and weeks and weeks of unpaid extras and unpaid time. Do you see what I'm saying? So you might be just working on your own now and you think, well, it's only going to take me a couple of hours. I might get a 5-star review from it as well. That's all well and good, but you're setting yourself up for failure because when you scale, you can't expect all your other team members to be doing the same because otherwise you're thousands and thousands of pounds out of pocket every year and you're hundreds of working hours down every year. You've got to start as you mean to go on by saying the word no. And if you continue to keep saying the word yes, Here are, in my opinion, the 3 things that you're doing wrong. Number 1, you're devaluing your trade. You're basically saying your skills and your time are free. Number 2, you're going to wreck your schedule and your diary. One small favour usually creates a knock-on effect and delays. And now you're having to ring other customers up. It's not their fault that you can't say no. And now you're pissing your other customers off because you're having to put them back. And number 3, you're training your customer that now they expect these extras free every single time. So if you've got repeat business and you're constantly doing things for free, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to go, oh, Jim, Craig's coming round on Tuesday. I tell you what, go and get that bit of skirting board from B&Q and we'll get him to fit that while he's here because he's prepared to give up his time and his money for free. Do you get what I'm saying? But again, we don't have to just be as blunt as saying no. Remember, it's how you let people down and what it is you say. You know, I could say, do you know, Mrs. Jones, do you know what? I'd love to be able to hang you those 2 doors today. However, once I finish this job, I've got to go to another job. And by me squeezing this job in today is really going to upset another one of my customers. And I would never do that to you. And I hope that you would understand that I can't do that to my other customers. So what I can do is I can give you a price to fit the doors and I can give you a time and date on when we can come back and fit them. How does that sound? And if they don't want to pay, that's fine. You've just saved yourself hours of unpaid graft. Situation and example number 4, write this down. When you start taking jobs on outside your ideal type of work. Let me give you an example. We've all taken on jobs that we know we shouldn't. And a lot of the times we do this when we first set up our business because we need work. And I get it. You need to put food on the table, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, feed your kids. I get that in them early days. But what we need to be working out as a business owner are what is the most profitable products and services we offer. Because there is no point in doing something if either 1, it doesn't make you any money, or 2, it's one of them pain in the arse jobs that constantly brings you stress and hassle, right? And I used to do it myself. Because I'm a joiner by trade, I can do everything. First fix, second fix. I'm a bench joiner by trade, so I could manufacture an 8-kite flight of stairs. I could manufacture a conservatory, a bar, whatever. I could do finishing joinery, house bashing. I could do it all. But because I could do it all, I did it all. And therefore, I ended up being a busy fool because I weren't making any money because I was doing all these different things. So when you're first to set up, I get it. You've got to fill the diary. But the next problem here is when you start to grow your business and you've got to, what I call feed the beast, which is you've got to bring work in because now you've got 5 fitters or 5 engineers or 5 sparkies or whatever it is, 5 plasterers, 5 roofers to keep busy. You get to a point where sometimes leads drop off and panic stations kick in, don't they? And they do. You start to worry, oh, fucking hell, I'm going to run out of work in 2 weeks' time. I need some more work to come in. And then all of a sudden, you get a lead that comes in for a job that you wouldn't normally entertain. You wouldn't do it, would you? But because panic set in, you go, fuck it, I need it. I'll go and look at it. And what you're doing here is you're now starting to trade your time for money. In other words, you know that it's not the right type of job. You know that it's not the profitable job, or you know that it's a job that usually gives you grief or hassle. But because you need the money to pay your overheads and you need the money to pay your team and the wages or your subbies, you go ahead and do it. And I used to do this all the time. Especially when I got to the point where I got 12 members of staff, 12 people working for me. We were eating through work. So I'd take jobs on that I knew deep down I shouldn't. And they always came back to bite me in the arse. And then when I got to the end of that job and I'd look at it and I'd look at the numbers, I'd go, do you know what? I should have never have took that job on in the first place, because the money that I've got off the job, by the time I've paid me labour, by the time I've paid me materials, and by the time I've paid all my overheads, I'm actually breaking even. So I've made no money, but I've had to organise the job. I've had the grief off the customer. It took all my time. Whereas if you were to say, no, I'm sticking to my guns, I'm not just going to take any type of work on, I guarantee that something will show up, especially if you're marketing your business right. And I also guarantee that the time that you are saving yourself by not doing a job that you wouldn't normally take on, that time, if you took that time and sunk it into marketing, you'll start to generate leads for the jobs that you do, your bread and butter stuff that makes you profit. Do you get what I'm saying? And a great example of this are plumbing and heating engineers, because when it comes to October through to March, April, it's like gold season, innit? Everybody switches the boilers on. The plumbing and heating engineers are mega busy, fitting all the boilers, repairing the boilers, servicing the boilers. But then come May, it starts to die off, doesn't it? The leads don't come in as thick and fast as what they do in autumn and winter when we turn to spring and summer. So what do a lot of plumbers then do? They start sacrificing that time by taking on bathroom work. Yeah. You take a few bathrooms on. You hate doing bathrooms because they're a pain in arse. They take forever. You're constantly relying on sparkies or tilers or plasterers or joiners. And because they're shit at time management, they are putting your job back because they can't come to your job because they're shit at time management and they're still on their other jobs. So bathroom installations are a nightmare. Honestly, they are for plumbing and heating engineers. Whereas what I'm saying is, if a plumbing and heating engineer got the ideal target market right, and they got the marketing strategy right, and they were relentless with the marketing around boiler installations or heat pump installations, you can still keep your business going 12 months a year, just fitting the most profitable products and services, which in this case would be, let's say, boiler and heat pumps. The challenge is, for many of you, you don't know who your target market is, and you haven't got the right marketing strategy. So you've got to be brave enough that if work's tight and it doesn't look like you've got the work coming in, but you get the opportunity to do a job outside of what you'd normally take on, you've got to start saying no to yourself. No, I'm not taking this job on because that job is going to sap a lot of my time. It's going to cause me grief. I might as well reinvest that time as of like today back into my marketing to generate the leads that I actually need. You see what I'm saying? And given that I've just talked about target market, which is where all this starts, because let's face it, think about this. If you are a plumbing and heating engineer, for example, and you are wanting more boiler installations, the target market and the messaging across the marketing that you're going to put out, whether that's videos, social media posts, or a landing page that you're going to drive your traffic back to, the messaging for the target market for boiler installs is completely different to the target market and the messaging that you're going to be putting out there to attract bathroom installations. Two target markets with two completely different marketing messages. So if you want to understand how to work out your target market, whether that's B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer, go and check out episode number 11, where I teach you the 9 characteristics that you need to identify your B2B and B2C target markets. Situation and example number 5. Write down the words unqualified leads. What I mean by this is, how many hours are you losing and wasting quoting jobs for time wasters and tire kickers that were never your target market or never the right customer that had the right budget and time frames in mind in the first place, right? And the reason why this is happening is you can't seem to bring yourself to say no when that lead comes in. And I were exactly the same years ago, because when I had to feed my beast and I got loads of lads working for me and I were running out of work because we used to eat through it quick, I fell into that trap of a lead had come in and I go out and I go, it's not the type of work we normally do, as we've just covered in previous chapter. It's not the work I do, but I need to feed the beast. And what I do is I go and look at jobs that deep down really were a bit of a gamble. And I probably knew that just looking at the postcode or the area they lived in or the information that they might have given us on a contact us form, I probably knew deep down they weren't right. But I had to go and look at the job because I needed to feed the beast, right? Now, what I should have been saying to myself is, no, they are a time waster and they are a tire kicker. But the only way you're going to find that out is if you've got what we call a vetting form. Replace the Contact Us form on your website with a vetting form that takes your potential future customers through a series of questions that includes asking them what the budget is and the timescales and things like that, to allow you to determine whether they're a time waster or a serious potential customer. And if you've not got a vetting process in place, you are going to waste so much time, it is untrue. And therefore giving time wasters and tire kickers the permission to steal even more time that you haven't got out of your time bank. And the reason is you can't say and bring yourself to say, no, that's not the right job for me, or they don't look like the right customer, I'm turning them down. Now, bear with me here while I throw some very simple numbers at you to get my point across. Now, let's assume that for you to drive from where you're based to go and look at a job and survey a job, let's say it takes you half an hour. And you're there an hour doing your survey and your spiel and your quotes and going through whatever you go through. Then you've got an half an hour drive back. That's 2 hours of your time gone. But then when you get back to home or your office, you've got to price the job. You've got to put the quote together and you've got to send it out. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that's another hour. So let's say for every single job that you survey, price and quote takes you 3 hours. Now, I know some of you'll do it quicker, but some people like builders who are building a 200 grand extension, it might take you 8 hours. But let's just say it takes you 3 hours. And let's say over the course of that week, you on average look at 6 jobs. So you're now investing 18 hours a week into surveying, pricing and quoting jobs. Now, let's assume that your conversion rate or your conversion percentage is a third of that. So in other words, for every single job you look at, for every, let's say, 3 jobs you look at, you win 1. 1 in 3, a third, 33%, right? If that's the case and your conversion rate is a third, out of those 6 jobs you're going to look at and price and give up your time to invest into, you're only going to win 2 if your conversion rate is 1 in 3 jobs. Which means that there are still 4 jobs that you haven't won. Now, if each one of them 4 jobs that you haven't won is 3 hours of time that you've invested into it, that's basically telling me that you're wasting 12 hours a week losing jobs, pricing jobs, surveying jobs for people that probably weren't the right people in the first place, or because you haven't got a vetting form in place. Do you hear what I'm saying? So by saying no to time wasters and tire kickers, by setting up a vetting process, you're going to protect your time for the real customers that value your services. Now, again, given I've just mentioned about vetting forms, if you want to know how to create a vetting form and the questions that you need to ask on that vetting form and where to place that vetting form, whether that be online or in other places, go and check out episode number 36 because I go through that in detail. You need to get yourself a vetting form to safeguard your time and start saying no to those time wasters. Situation and example number 6. Write this down. Overcommitting to your team. Now, what I mean by this is, if you've got a team that, listen, let's just cut to the chase and say it how it is. If you've got a team that need constantly babysitting, where they're constantly ringing you, texting you, WhatsApping you, they can't make a decision to save their life, it's as though they've got no common sense, and they're there constantly badgering you for information or decision making or solving problems, and every time they do that, you're going, yeah, I'll sort it, right? You're not doing yourself any favours, because what you're doing now is you're establishing some rules with your team that says, hey, listen, any decision-making process that you need to go through that you're not quite sure of, listen, I'm here to solve all the problems that I'm actually paying you guys to do and solve in the first place. Now, to start off with, again, if it's just you and an apprentice, I get it. Apprentice is going to ask you questions. I get that. But if you've got multiple jobs running and you've got qualified fitters, engineers, skilled tradesmen and women on these jobs, and they're constantly badgering you for stupid things that common sense could solve, and you're actually doing that, you're making a rod for your own bag, because you're basically giving them permission to not think about anything because you're the problem solver, and therefore I just need to ring you up. Now again, if he's got one job running, great, but what happens if you've got 7 jobs running and you've got 7 different people constantly every day badgering you? It's going to drive you absolutely insane. And that's exactly what I'd built. I'd built that into my business where I almost gave people permission to constantly badger me. I got nothing done. It was like I was tearing my hair out. So what you've got to do is you've got to set some boundaries and you've got to set some rules of the game with your team on the type of communication that they can contact you about and can't contact you about. Because a lot of the times they can solve the problem themselves, but it's just easier to ring you, isn't it? Let's face it, it's easier for you to ring you. And if you remember what I said earlier in this podcast, I said, you've got to own your relationships with time, people, and money. And if you don't own the relationship with people, in this example, your team, then your team is going to control your time. And you cannot allow that to happen. So you've got to put them boundaries in place up front and get all of your team singing from the same hymn sheet on, these are the things you can contact me about, these are the things you can't. And if I give you the right tools, the right information, the right systems up front for you to be able to do that job without having to badger me, then that's your goal as a business owner, because you can't scale your business without a team. You've only got 168 hours in a week. You need to leverage other people's time, i.e. your team's time, to scale your business. So what you've got to stop giving into and stop saying is every time that phone rings and it's a member of your team, you've got to say to yourself, no, I'm not answering that phone. No, I'm not responding back to that WhatsApp message. And as long as you've given them the correct information, and as long as they know what they're doing on the job, they should be able to overcome any questions on that job that's posed to them. Other than things that, like, the customer might want an extra on a job and the customer's got to contact you to okay it and price it up and book it in. I get they need to pass that on, but day-to-day running of a business, surely grown-ass adults that you are paying to do a job can do the job without badgering you for 8 hours a day. So my advice to everybody that's listening to this that's got a team is get everybody in for a team meeting. Ask them what information are they lacking on a job, because it could be your fault. You might not be giving them all the information because you're rushing around like a blue-horse fly. What information do you need? What are the type of things that you generally contact me for? What systems, what processes, what tools, what do I need to give you to stop you from basically badgering me? Get a team meeting, let them give you the answers and then implement them and establish some new rules of the game into your business. But you've got to stop saying yes to every time your team want your time, because again, you're giving them permission to steal time out of your time bank that you haven't already got. Now, if you need to understand how to set the boundaries, not only with your team, but with your customers as well. I've got a full episode, which is episode number 8, where I go through exactly the strategy of what you need to do to set these boundaries and these rules with your team and with your customers to safeguard your time. Situation and example number 7, write this down. Family and friends freebies. This is the one that's the trickiest situation I think you'll face running your own business. And it's not just about the business, is it? It's about the relationships or the guilt or the pressure that you put under when you're working for family and friends. And we want to help as many people out that we care about as we can. But when mates or family ask for freebies or mates rates, it usually leads to trouble. Now, all these examples I'm going to share with you now have happened to me over the years. But I'm just going to put a different spin on it, depending on, with different trades, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Now, listen, some of you will want to help your family, your close family. Of course you will. And you want to help your good mates, and I get that. But at what cost of your time? Remember, it's your time that's most valuable than money. It's the most valuable currency. So how much time does this actually sap from you? And I'm going to put this point across by giving you 3 hypothetical examples of how these play out. Example 1, your cousin's bathroom, right? Your cousin calls, right? Listen, Craig, we're redoing our bathroom, right? Could you sort it out for us? We'll get all the bathroom, all the fittings, all the tiles. We'll get everything we need. We just want you to give us a price to fit it. Now, what happens here? You almost feel pressured into and obliged to say yes, thinking that you're doing them a favour. But what happens? These types of jobs generally take longer. They take longer for people or your cousin to decide on the tiles and the fittings or the colour. They're just too picky and they're constantly WhatsApping you and asking your opinion on different things. They keep changing their mind. And because the family, you feel like you don't want to chase them up or too much pressure on them. You've got other jobs and other customers that you're earning more money on. Yet they keep changing their mind and swapping things round. And then before you know it, you're going back at all different hours, aren't you? You're going back, you've got lost evenings, you've got lost weekends. And the profit that you could have made working for other people in the same amount of time is now gone. And then, don't forget, they're going to expect it every time. Example number 2, your mate's extension. So your mate's building an extension and he says to you, listen, can you just pop round this weekend and give us an hand chucking roof on? And you think, yeah, sounds like I can help them out and I want to help them out. But before you know it, that one weekend then has led to you every Saturday for next month being up on your mate's extension, helping them sort the roof out or other things that they've thrown in that they want you to help them out with. So now you're missing out on your weekend time with your family, with your friends, socialising, doing your hobbies. You've got a rammed diary already and you're already busy during the week with your other customers. And the worst part is your mate starts treating you like he's labour instead of a mate. Example number 3, the free quote favour. It might be a neighbour or a friend. And they contact you or they say, can you just nip round and give us a quote for whatever it is they want a quote for? It won't take long. And you think it's nothing. You think you're doing them a favour by going round and giving them a quote. But then it's hours of measuring, hours of free help, support and advice. Then they want a price. Then you've got to sort of mess about with all paperwork and you feel a bit uncomfortable with all that. I mean, how can you get your next door neighbour to sign your terms and conditions if they did decide to go ahead? And because they're a mate or a neighbour, they expect the cheapest possible deal, don't they? They expect you to work for next to nothing. Why? What? Because they're a neighbour or because they're a mate? Sometimes they don't even go ahead with the job. And then all of a sudden, you've got all that wasted time. And next thing, you see a competitor's van pulled up on their drive next door and they're doing the job. So every time you're doing a favour like this, there are 3 things that are at play here. Number 1, you're undervaluing your work. If your own family and friends don't see your worth, then who will? Number 2, you create resentment because you feel annoyed when people are starting to drag the reel or you feel like they're taking advantage out of you. And that's not good for any of these relationships. And number 3, you steal from yourself because the time that you would be spent on paying customers that are paying you the going rate to do all this, your family members and your friends and your mates rates, they're not. So now you're giving up your time and you're giving up your profits, all because of your friends, your family and your mates' rates. And I felt guilty of all of this, honestly. For years I used to do this, but then I got to a point where I'm thinking, nobody appreciates it anyway. I mean, let me throw another one in. You can tell I'm on my soapbox with this one. How many times have you had a family member or a friend ask to borrow your van? Right? Maybe they need a mattress moving or they need stuff taken to skip or tip or whatever. And they expect you to just loan your van out to any Tom, Dick and Harry. Do you know what I mean? So I got to a point where I said, enough's enough. And what I started saying to people, including my family, in fact, the only person that I ended up working with or for were obviously my mum and dad, right? But everybody else, I'd say, listen, I've mixed business and family or business and friends or business and neighbour relationships in the past. And for whatever reason, it's just not worked out. I value our relationship more than I do any money or any favours. So what I'd prefer you to do is find somebody local, go on Google, find somebody else to do the job because I think that's the best thing for us both. And 9 times out of 10, people will respect it when you say no to them like that. But you've got to start protecting your time by saying no to your friends, your family, and mates rates. And if you say, Craig, listen, I want to help people out and I want to do that, that's great. You go ahead and do it. All I'm saying to you is, if you're struggling for time now and you haven't got a time bank at the end of every week that's got loads and loads of spare time for you to go and do this, then you've got to start prioritising yourself, your own time and your own business. Situation and example number 8. And I'm going to be mixing this between business and personal, but I want you to write down networking and social commitments. Now, I got to a point in my business where I was getting a lot of invites to do a lot of different things all the time. And again, when you get an invitation to do something where somebody's going out of their, let's say, way to try and help you or give you something for free, you almost feel obliged to say yes. And that's exactly where I were. Every time I got invited to a networking meeting by someone who would say, listen, I know you're into networking, Craig. I'm going to this networking event on Tuesday morning or Thursday evening. There's somebody there that's dying to meet you, right? And I think they'd be a great contact for you. I want to introduce you. Can I book you on? And I go, I'm busy, I've got stuff on. But go on then, I'll come. So there's the networking side of it. Then there were things like suppliers. We used to spend a lot of money with our suppliers. And it's great getting invited to races, isn't it? Having a Friday off in summer, going at races, having a beer I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I used to drink alcohol. And it's great to go and network and let your hair down and have a laugh and all that lot once every so often. But it meant that because we spent that much money with that many different people, it's like every month there were a supplier's night or a comedy night or a races or going at dogs or doing something. And again, I'd be like, yeah, because I didn't want to spoil my relationships with my suppliers. And then on top of that, you've got your social side, I'd good at March, my team Sheffield United for my sins, but I'm good at March. So it's a bit like Tuesday nights, right? Where we're meeting, what time, what we're going for a drink, what we're doing. And then it'll be Tuesday nights. Then it'll be, right, what we're doing Saturday. And then we went up to Premier League, which were like yo-yos, were up and down all the time. It's like Saturday and Sunday games, what we're doing, where we're meeting, where we're going, what away games we're going to, and all this lot. And then before I know it, all this networking and social commitments that I got, I was doing that much of it. It's like flipping egg. I just need a break. I just need a bit of time. I ain't got enough time for myself. I ain't got enough time for my family. But here's me giving my time up for suppliers and, mates and networking meetings and all that. Now, this might not be at the top of your priority list. But again, as your business starts to grow and you get a bit more, let's say, established and well-known and suppliers want to take you out and do things with you, all this lot will start to come. Do you get me? So I had to start saying no, and I felt really bad and really guilty. But I didn't just say, no, I'm not coming to that supplier's night. I'd politely decline, but I'd explain to them why I didn't want to come. And I didn't want it to affect our relationship. And just because I'm coming, I'm not going to move my account somewhere else. Maybe when I've got a bit more time, I'll come to the next one. Are you with me? Again, it comes back down to how you say no. And then what I found is I found myself only saying yes to the events, let's say, or social commitments that I knew would benefit me, because a lot of the times people were inviting me to stuff, it wasn't necessarily to benefit me, it were either to benefit them or somebody else that they wanted introductions to. For example, I might go to a networking event and they'd say, I've got this, somebody wants to speak to you. And then all they wanted to get out of me were work. It might have been another plumbing contractor who wanted all our plumbing work. It could have been an electrical contractor, roofer, scaffolder. Basically, all they wanted were work. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I've given up hours and hours and hours of my time this evening. I've probably spent 150 quid behind bar and buying people drinks and contributing and all that lot. And all I've done is I've sat here and I've been pitched to by scaffolder and he's gone. Then bloke comes and sits next to me, he's plumber and he's pitching to me. I'm like, come on. So I only went to the ones that I believed were going to benefit me and not just everybody else. Situation and example number 9, write down unrealistic deadlines. Now, what I mean by this is one of the biggest pressures that we face running a trades or construction business is, without a shadow of a doubt, deadlines. And not the ones that we set, the ones that either customers or commercial clients try and push on us. And it usually starts off the same way. You walk onto a job and the customer says, any chance you can have this finished by Friday? And if you're anything like most trades business owners are, your instinct is to immediately say yes. Because you don't want to lose the work. You don't want to let people down. You don't want people disappointed. But the reality is, saying yes to unrealistic deadlines is one of the fastest ways to pile pressure on yourself, on your team, and on your suppliers. And sometimes, when you're agreeing to deadlines that are unrealistic and you're relying on other people, such as suppliers or subcontractors coming in to make sure it gets done on time, then that's a real risk, because if they can't deliver the materials or your subbies can't get on jobs in time, then they're going to let you down, in which return you're going to let the customer down. And this one, I'm sure you'll have all experienced this one. And this is what happens usually December in run up to Christmas. You'll get a call or you'll have a meeting with your customer and they'll say, listen, we're having family round for Christmas. Can you make sure you get this kitchen fitted by then? And on paper, it's possible. But again, you've got suppliers. They're busy. They're under the pressure, making sure that everybody gets the materials. So deliveries might come late. You've already got a team that's stretched. You've got subbies that are on other jobs trying to get other jobs finished and wrapped up over Christmas. And you end up then committing to working 14 hours a day, having to put a Saturday shift in, just to make sure that you attempt to get the job done on time. This leads to stress levels going through the roof. And because you've rushed it to get it finished in time, and it's not your usual standard, instead of the customer being grateful, what happens? They start nitpicking on everything. And then that job that you've bent over backwards to get done on time leaves you feeling drained and underappreciated. Or what about this one? You get a call, right, that a plumbing and heating engineer, let's use them as an example again. You get a call, we've got no heating, right? Boiler's knackered, but we need it replacing by tomorrow because this is happening 2 days later. I need it in like tomorrow, next 48 hours. It's got to be fitted. Now, of course, breakdowns need urgency, but replacing a boiler means ordering parts, ordering boiler, ordering flue and all kit and everything else that you're going to need. It's got to be installed safely. You might need flushing system. So if you commit and think, actually, if I move jobs around, I could fit this boiler in tomorrow, I could get it done and make a few extra quid, then all that's happening here is you're going to cut corners. You're going to rush through them safety checks. You're going to end up overpaying on suppliers to get the parts in on time. And the risk is not just stress, it's your reputation, compliance and safety. And even on bigger projects like commercial projects that some of you might work on, it's the exact same. You know, main contractor or builder or whoever's in charge, site manager comes up to you. Listen, we need this site, we need it done by Monday. It's got to be finished, right? We've got an handover happening on Monday next week. You've got to get it done. We need more lads on this job. So you start shuffling things around. You pull lads off one job and another. So now you're letting customers down on the job that you've pulled them off. You pull all the stops out to get this all done and finished, ready for Monday, so that you can keep getting repeat business from this main contractor. So you've regrouped and you've got everybody in. And then you get there and you can't do it because other trades that are in front of you, you're still waiting on them to finish. So they're behind, they're under pressure, they're having to pull people in on to get job done. And then you're following on from them and time's ticking. So what happens? Right, lads, we're going to have to pull a ghost and we're going to have to work through night tonight and work till like 2 in the morning. And then we're going to have to work Saturday and Sunday. And you've not priced for this. You've not priced for this extra overtime or extra pay that you might have to pay your team. And then it's a case of, well, I can't work this weekend, Craig, because I'm going away with family. I've got a wedding. And all of a sudden, it's just chaos. All because you've said yes instead of saying no and being honest. And then these unrealistic deadlines, 3 things start to happen. Number one, you'll cut corners because you're rushing to get jobs done. Then you get snags, then you get callbacks, then you get complaints. Then if it's a commercial client and they've put a retention on you, they're not going to pay you out. So they keep an extra 5% of your money back. Now you're losing even more money. Number 2, your stress levels are going to rocket. All of a sudden, you've gone from a nice little carry-on to being put in under all this pressure. And now you're all stressed, you're all burnt out. You've got some of your team aren't happy because you're having to tell them to work late or coming on a Saturday or weekends. And that's now causing friction with their home life. So their families aren't happy. Number 3, your reputation starts to suffer. So instead of being praised for getting someone out of the shit, all that's happening is you're often criticised because the job's being rushed and it's not to a certain standard. So you're in a no-win situation when this is put to you. You've got to say no. It can't be done. And it doesn't matter what pressure or whatever they put on you. If it can't be done, it can't be done. Situation and example number 10. And this, for me, is the most important one of them all. And that is, write this down, say no to yourself. Say no to yourself. Because it's not just about saying no to your customers or your family or your team. It's about saying no to you. When these ideas pop up in your head, you've got to rein yourself back in. Remember, there's only one person who controls their time, and that's you. There's only one person that gets 168 hours deposited into their time bank, and that's you. So you've got to be mindful of what you're saying to yourself. And let's be honest, trades business owners are some of the worst for this. Why? Because we're doers, aren't we? We're grafters. We like getting stuck into things. But what happens here is the temptation to say yes to every new idea, every shiny object, every new project, every distraction that pops up is too tempting for some of us. And because we're not disciplined with time, we say yes to things that we should be saying no to because we're not disciplined. And this is something that we absolutely cover massively on My Inner Circle. We spend an entire month working on time management to get our Inner Circle members disciplined with their time and get them to understand that in the time bank, they've got to preserve as many of these 168 hours as they can. We spend an entire month working on it. And a lot of the times, during that month, I have to rein people back in. And I'm saying, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Let me give you a quick example of this, right? I'm not mentioning names because they've already had a rocket up their arse from me for doing this. But we've got a plastering contractor, that's all I'm saying, right? And he's doing really well. And he's got some surplus money put to one side and he's listening to what I'm saying about investing into property and assets and things like that. But a mate of his, who's also another plastering contractor, he's just started flipping properties, right? Buying properties, doing them up, selling them, banking profit. So My Inner Circle member has seen what his mate is now doing and obviously is listening to what I'm saying and probably what he hears other people talking about on podcasts about building generational wealth and building assets. And obviously, properties can be assets if you keep them, or you can sell the asset and make more profit. Now, he's doing well, but he's working about 60 to 70 hours a week. And he's come to me and said, Craig, you never guess what I've gone and done. I'm like, what? He's like, I've just gone and bought a property. I'm like, right, congratulations. He says, yeah, I'm right excited. I'm going to get into property development. I've seen my mate do it. He's on his third house now and he's made all this money. I'm like, brilliant. When are you going to find time to do that? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you're already working 60 to 70 hours a week. This month is all about time management on how to get your time back. You're getting this property. If you're going to be flipping it, you need to put a lot of time and effort into it. And you're going to have to project manage it and you're going to have to get it flipped and sold probably within the next 12 weeks. But remember, at the time I'm recording this now, we've just come through kids' 6 weeks holidays. And I said to him, you're going away for 2 weeks. He's like, I know. I'm like, well, when are you going to get it done? He's like, I'll do it. I'll fit it in. I'm like, that's a classic example of reining yourself in and saying no to yourself. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't buy property and flip it. What I'm saying is he would have been better off waiting maybe another 6 to 9 months when he's further into the inner circle and we've got his time back and he's systemised his business with Leadzilla and ServiceMate and his business is running like clockwork and now he's got time left in his time bank to invest into this property. Then I'd be saying press the green light on it. But because he's seen a mate doing it and he's seen how much his mate's made, he's now trading his time for money. He's chasing the money, but he hasn't got the time to do it. And I said to him, this is going to be chaos. Your life for the next 3 to 4 months is going to be chaos. And you're going to have problems at home. And you're not going to be getting your inner circle homework done. And you're going to be having me breathing down your neck. Do you get what I'm saying? Or another quick example. Another one of my inner circle members. Again, they've started on my inner circle. Time management is month 2, right? So it's very early in this process. And he's a joiner like me by trade. And obviously he's picking up on what I did and mistakes I've made and then what I went and moved into and the different products and services we started to sell that maximised his profits. So all of a sudden he's gone from being a very, very good high-end joiner, right, working for some very high profile architects and interior designers that are paying him an incredible amount of day rate. I don't know anyone, particularly joiners, that's getting this amount of day rate. And I've said to him, do you know what? You could be onto something here because I know a lot of it's day rate. Don't get me wrong, he gets a bit of price work, but I know it's day rate. But let's look at your business model. Your business model is at the minute is they trust you, so they don't even come to you for prices. They just give you this really high day rate. You don't have to go out looking at jobs. You don't have to give up your evenings and weekends to survey. You don't have to price jobs. You don't have to do any of that. All you do is you get given the address and the spec and the schedule and the drawings, and then you rock up, you do your job, you put your tools in your van, you finish at 5, you get paid incredibly well without any of the hassle that comes technically from running your own business. It's like, I know that, Craig, and I get that, but I don't want to be like just like a subby. I want to get my own work in. And I'm like, we can do that going down the exact same model that you've currently got. All we need to do is find more designers and more high-end builders and people like this, bring more of your more team in, you get the money in, you're taking a cut, which would be a very high cut because that money is getting paid. We can build a business model around that because there's nobody else doing that. Joiners a 10 a penny. What's he gone and done? All of a sudden, I'm seeing that he's added onto his website. He's now doing extensions, basement conversions, loft conversions, refurbs. And I'm like, why have you done that? He's like, because I see everybody else doing it. And I'm like, yeah, but you're missing the point. That doing all of that is going to take you so much extra time because now you've got to market your business. You've got to go out and you've got to price jobs. You've got to do everything else that everybody else running a business is doing, where there's a little cushy number that you've got going off here, which is really unique and mega profitable, that's not sapping your time. You're now not going to be able to do that. You're making that pivot and that transition over to doing all these other things far too early in your journey. Do you get what I'm saying? He should, in my opinion, he'd have been better off saying no to himself and to listen to what I'm sharing with him and then done all that lot when he got more time on his hands. Do you get what I'm saying? So we have to start saying no to ourselves. And even things like impulse things that we do, like sporadic things, like sometimes you've got these big ideas And they're just impulse decisions, like sitting down to do a quote. And then next thing you're like, oh, let me just check my email. That next thing it's like, oh, I'm on YouTube. Half an hour later, half an hour your time's gone because you're doing impulse tasks and getting pulled away from what it is that you should be focusing on. And before you know it, all these distractions and notifications and social media, before you know it, you're an hour into doom scrolling on TikTok. You've got to become incredibly disciplined with your time and start to tell yourself, no, I'm not going on YouTube. No, I'm not going to doom scroll for next hour on TikTok. What I am going to do is switch off all distractions and focus on getting these quotes out, getting these invoices out so I can get some profit in. You've got to start saying no to yourself. And if you don't, the negatives are this. Number one, your priorities are going to start to slip. And what really moves the business forward is going to get neglected because you're focusing on other things that aren't as important as growing your business. Number two, your stress levels are bound to grow. More plates spinning, more fires and more firefighting that you're doing, more jobs half done is going to give you more stress. And number three, the growth in the business is going to stall because energy that you've got is now spread across 10 things or 10 jobs or 10 different products and services, 10 different customers, instead of focusing on just two things and getting them working right, saving your time and increasing your profits. Now, I want to give you 2 quick tips on what I do to stay disciplined with my time. Number one, I run what we call a default diary. Write it down. It's a default diary. And I run my businesses and my life through my default diary. In other words, every minute of every one of my days where I've got to do something is accounted for and it's already in my diary. So when I get up on a Monday morning and my time bank starts to be withdrawn with tasks or people or things that I need to give attention to, I am only working on the most important areas of my business at the right time. I do not get distracted. I open my diary up, my online diary, which is all on Google, and I look at my diary and it tells me what I'm working on Monday through to Friday. And the time is already allocated into my diary well in advance so I know what I'm doing. That way, I'm not firefighting, I'm not spinning too many plates, I'm not focusing on 10 things at once. It's in my default diary, and whatever that tells me I'm doing. I don't diversify from it, and I don't change it. Now, just like you, I get people wanting to speak to me, wanting meetings with me, want me to go places and do things for them. And I never agree to anything. And honestly, this little simple tip is the best thing that you can do to safeguard your time and give yourself a little bit of breathing space if you don't want to commit to anything there and then. When people say to me, oh, Craig, any chance I can jump onto a Zoom with you at Thursday at 3:00? Only I've got bang, bang, bang going off. What I never, ever, ever do is commit to anything or anyone where I know I've got to take time out of my time bank to give to something without first consulting my default diary. Because if they want a meeting with me, let's say at Thursday at 3:00, this is what I say. Fred, can't give you an answer on that just now. What I will do is I'll go away and have a look at my diary, and what I'll do is I'll come back to you and I'll let you know either way. Would that be okay? Always ask, would that be okay? Because they're not going to go no. They're going to go, oh, all right, yeah, that's fine. Then I say this. If the time's available, then we'll book it in. If it's not available, I'll give you some additional dates and times where we can book it in. Is that okay with you? And they'll go, yeah. So what am I doing there? I'm not putting myself under any pressure by saying yes or no straight away. I'm telling them that if we can do it, I'll do it. But if not, I'm going to suggest some times to them because I own my time and my relationship with this person. And therefore, they will fit into my diary and my schedule and my time and my time bank when I dictate, not when they dictate. Do you get what I mean? So then what I'll do, I'll end the call or send them a text message back or whatever I'm doing, and then I'll check my diary. And if there's something booked in for Thursday at 3 o'clock, what I do not do for anybody is go, could I fit that in? If I move that to then and I tighten that up and I shorten that meeting or I cancel that one and put that one back, maybe I could fit them in. I don't do that, and that's what some of you are doing now with your jobs or with your customers. What I will then do is say, I can't do it. So I'll look in my default diary for some white space on when I have got time available, and then I'll message them back and say, I'm really sorry, I've got something booked in already, but these are the 2 dates, always give a couple of dates, where I can have the meeting or I can, in your case, start the job. How does that sound? And if they come back to me and say, great, Craig, I'll go for Monday at whatever time, I'll book it in under my time scales. But if they come back and say, oh, Craig, I can't do either one of them days, can you do this? I'll say, let me check my diary and I'll come back to you. And if I can't do it, I'll suggest some other dates. I won't just do it on their date. Then I'll go and look at my diary again. And the same process will happen again. And eventually we'll find some common ground where they can make my times. But I won't change my life. I won't change my schedule and my business and what I've got booked in to shoehorn somebody in, because that's unfair on everybody else, including me. Do you get me? Now, if you've got no idea how to set up a default diary, I'm going to suggest that you're going to listen to episode number 4. Because in episode number 4, I walk you through step by step exactly how to set one up. It's only an online calendar, whether you're on Google, Outlook, Leadzilla, ServiceMate, whether you've got an iPhone and you've got using Apple Calendar, it doesn't matter. As long as you've got an online calendar that you / your team can access, I walk you through on episode 4 exactly how to set up a default diary. I'd suggest that you all go and get stuck into that, because that's going to get you super organised, make you more productive and more efficient. And the second tip, and this is something I still ask myself, even though I'm really disciplined with my default diary, but the second thing is this. I'll always ask myself this question, right? If I say yes to this, whatever this is and presented to me, what am I going to have to say no to? So if I say yes to this, what am I going to have to say no to? Because I want to make sure that when I get to the end of my week, I've still got loads of time left in my default diary, right? So if I'm saying yes to something now, it means I am giving that person or that task or that situation X amount of hours of my time, which means that time has got to come from somewhere else. And that means me might having to say no to my family time or to one of my hobbies or my personal development or me going to gym like I do. And that is non-negotiable, because my businesses will never, ever, ever steal time ever again from the most important things for me, which is my health and well-being, my family time, and my hobbies. I don't live to run a business. I run a business to give me the financial time and freedom to live my life. The last thing I'm going to do is say yes to something or somebody if that means me giving up my time with myself or my family. So something's got to give, and I won't do it. So they are 2 tips that I would introduce into your business now, immediately, to help you get more organised and stay on track of your time management. So here are your action tasks from this episode. And normally I'll say, right, we can't do all this at once. You pick 2 or 3 things and start to work on those sections first. And then once you've got them done, go and do the rest. But in reality, all this, what we've gone through today, is absolutely relevant and can be done literally now. Because all it needs you to do is change one word that comes out your mouth. And instead of it's being yes, the word now is no. How you say no is down to you. But you cannot protect that time bank if you're constantly nodding your head and allowing people or circumstances or situations and tasks to steal and rob that time out of your time bank. Now, there's 10 things that I've just gone through there. And you might say, Craig, I'm really good with family and friends. You know, I don't give up my time anymore for them because I've learnt that lesson already. Brilliant. But what about the rest of them? And these 10 aren't the be all and end all, are they? These are just 10 common ones that I've been through. And I know for sure you'll be going through some of these. So the idea behind this is I've brought it to your attention. All these situations that we've just gone through now should be on your radar. And what you need to do is change your conditioning on how you approach these and how you approach letting people down gently by literally saying one word, and that is no. So here's your challenge. As of now, you've finished this episode, I want you to say no to as many situations, as many people, as many tasks, and to yourself as many times as you can. Because you now know that every time you say no, you're protecting your time in your time bank. And wouldn't it be amazing if in let's say a month's time, instead of you working whatever hours you're working right now, you could work 15 hours a week less and have that time preserved to spend and invest into what you want to invest it into, rather than being dictated to by your customers or by your team or even by yourself. And definitely by your business, because we cannot let our business control our time. And what I'd love you to do is either come into our free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community. The link to that will be in the show notes and the description. Come into it, tell me you've listened to episode number 81 and which areas of these 10 are you going to immediately start improving. Tell me, have you already mastered some? But I can't help you unless you come and give me some feedback. Likewise, if you're a Growth Club member, come into our Growth Club and our school community and do exactly the same. And finally, could I ask you to either hit the follow or the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to this episode on right now? Because the more people follow these episodes or subscribe maybe on YouTube, obviously the more that platform is going to push our content out to more tradesmen and women, and therefore we can take another step closer to our mission and goal, which is to help 1 million tradespeople get off the tools and achieve time and financial freedom. And remember, you can always make more profit, but you can never make more time. I'll catch up with you on next week's episode and I'll meet you at the top. Thank you.